A key difference between fashion photography and other areas of commercial photography is that it typically requires a team to arrive at a successful result. Getting started in fashion photography can sometimes seem intimidating for this reason. But whilst high-end fashion photography shoots often involve a large team such as a stylist, makeup artist, set designers, art director and models, at the very basic level, all you really need to start producing fashion images is someone to model for you and somewhere to shoot. When we interviewed Daria Belikova, a professional fashion photographer on our talk show, she shared her experiences of starting off in the industry. And she explained that her first shoot was of her younger sister. She then moved on to photographing her friends, and it was this portfolio that then helped her to win her first job, and her progression continued from there. Everyone who is anyone in fashion photography had to start somewhere. Now this course, Getting Started in Fashion Photography, has been designed to support aspiring and upcoming fashion photographers with tips and advice for getting a foot into the industry by building a portfolio whilst working to a budget. Over the next series of classes, you're going to learn how to develop concepts and establish your style, how to network and build a team, arrange clothes for a fashion shoot, design sets and construct props, and learn which cameras and lenses are best, as well as learn the key points about lighting for fashion photography. Now, whether you start small, for example, just you and the model, or if you need a slightly bigger team, is usually dependent on what genre of fashion photography and what the expectations of your client are when you're shooting commercially. Fashion photography is often more than just showing the latest outfit. It's a statement, an aspiration, an identity, and I cover more on this in the next class. But initially, and to simplify from a commercial perspective, the industry can be broken down into several areas that include the following. Street fashion photography. Street fashion photography has grown rapidly in the last couple of decades. Commonly set in urban locations, street fashion photography depicts models wearing popular styles of clothing in relatable ways. This may be a genre of fashion photography worth considering if you're starting out, as you can use public spaces and natural light rather than having to source a studio space and lighting. It's a simple way to essentially start the process of experimenting with fashion photography. Editorial photography. Typically seen in magazines and fashion blogs, editorial fashion photography aims to tell a loose story, with the model in a particular environment, either on location or a created theme in a studio. Budgets for editorial shoots are nowhere near those of catalogue or high fashion, but they are where many photographers create a name for themselves. Lookbook photography. Lookbook photography, although the terminology also covers other areas, it falls somewhere between e-commerce and editorial photography. Whilst its main aim is to describe and sell the clothing, it also is used to inspire and tell a story that is often applied in order to offer more of a brand narrative than simple e-commerce shots. These type of fashion images may be used in a brand campaign, in their adverts, and you can see them in store windows, home pages of clothing websites, or used by bloggers. E-commerce photography. E-commerce catalogue fashion photography is far less elaborate than editorial work, with the main aim being to show off the clothing and often on a plain white background. Its purpose is to provide information rather than tell a story, and to simply allow the viewer to see the product clearly in a simple, uninterrupted setting. Catalogue fashion photography. This can be as simple as e-commerce style images, but usually runs to much more involved location or studio shoots that have more dynamics and emotional use of lighting. Some printed catalogues are heavy books with thousands of stylish images created over many weeks' work on location, with models, hair, makeup and assistants, and the photographer delivering thousands of usable assets to describe the latest season's ranges. High fashion photography. High fashion photography goes several steps further than editorial fashion photography. But unlike editorial images, it's less about the story and more about the brand ethos or its perceived social standing. The budgets for such shoots are often much bigger and will use the skills of top models, photographers, hair, makeup and stylists to create a shot or a series of shots that become the aspirational definition to the target audience. Essentially, it's all about desirability. The subliminal message is, this is who we are and this is who you want to be. The attention to detail, lighting, post-production and the efforts expended are far greater on this type of shot and is ultimately a representation of the brand itself. Personal work. Fashion images are not always fixed to a commercial project. Many photographers shoot fashion as a way of developing their style and portfolio. Others shoot them purely for art's sake, and while they hold no relevance to selling a particular piece of clothing, they are still an expression of the clothes and the narrative of the image, making them as much fashion photography as anything else. And through the development of your personal work, you will grow far more rapidly as a fashion photographer because practice makes perfect. To get you started, I will be guiding you on equipment and lighting techniques to get you started because fashion images can be conducted with a single bare bulb light or, in many cases, natural light, and I will show you exactly how. Before we move on to the best choices of cameras and lenses for fashion photography or how to light fashion images, we need to discuss developing concepts for fashion shoots and how you will establish your own style, and that is the topic of our next chapter.